In this video, I'm going to use the SQLAcodegen to create the SQLAlchemy code from a pre-existing database. So I've usually been doing it the other way, making the SQLAlchemy code to define classes corresponding to tables and then creating the tables using that SQLAlchemy code. But this time I want to work with a pre-existing database and sort of have it sort of essentially queried and then figured out what the SQLAlchemy code should be. I'm going to work with the samples SQLite database of Chinook. All right. So here I have set up in Visual Studio Code. I have the Chinook database. I have, in terms of extensions, SQLite extensions. I have the Alex CVZZZ in the SQLite editor. Okay. I don't think that affects much of what I'm doing here, but in case you're interested, that is what I'm using my SQLite extensions. Okay. So I'm in a virtual environment. I have that virtual environment activated. I am going to go through the pip install of the SQLAcodegen, even though I have it. So it will just say already there. So pip install SQLAcodegen, and it's going to tell me I already have it. Yes, requirement already satisfied. I am now going to move into the folder with the database CD Chinook, and now I'm going to use SQLAcodegen, and I'm going to say what the database is. So SQLite : / Chinook DB. I'm going to sort of pipe that into, I'm going to call it SQLA Chinook, and I'm going to give it a Python extension. Good. And it's creating a Python file. And here we have it. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit at the beginning and a little bit at the end and try to use it and show one problem I've been encountering and how to, at least a way to fix it. And we'll go from there. Okay. So I'm going to add some code in the beginning that I always like to make sure that the code knows where the database is. So I'm telling it, go to where this Python is using the OS and getting the Chinook. And then I want to, at the end, make sure I have my metadata and such. Okay, so I'm saving that. And now I'm going to, I have some file already made, which, let's do this for now. I called it, I'm going over to this code that was generated by SQLAcodegen. I am going to import it and call it my_db, and I am creating an employees query of the employees table working in SQLAlchemy. Okay, I want to save. All right, and I believe this is not going to work, and then we will fix that problem. Okay. So I'm getting this syntax error about null bytes, and this has to do with the character set, the encoding that was generated by the Python code that was generated has a different encoding. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this code that was generated. I'm going to just do a Control A, Control C. I'm going to make a new file, SQLA chinook underscore define .py. So I'm making a Python file. I'm going to Control V, paste all that in, save that. So now I've copied that code, just pasted it in, but hopefully this one has the right encoding. Let's have a peek at them. So here was, well, I'm going to open it in Notepad and look at its encoding. That was a UTF-16. And this one I made with the define is a UTF-8. Okay. So now I'm hoping that fixed my problem. I'm coming back over to the query. I'm changing what I'm importing to adding the define, the new one with the UTF encode, the UTF-8 encoding. Do a save, and I'm going to let me move into the Chinook folder. I'm not sure I needed that, but and I'm going to run this now, and I am successfully querying the employees table of the Chinook database using SQLAlchemy, using the code that I generated using sqlacodegen. Just want to close everything and open it back up to make sure nothing funny happens. So close all these things. Visual Studio Code. Here I am. Let me go to a different folder and then come back. Let me just go to downloads and then come back to where Chinook was, 626 Flask, venv. Just set everything up the way I was. Make sure I'm activated. Put myself in the Chinook folder. I can still read the define. I can still read the query. And so one time, a different approach I had for trying to change the encoding, it looked all fine in the beginning, and then when I reopened it, it looked like it was Chinese or something. So this is still readable and editable to me, so I'm happier with this approach. And one more time, I guess, let's just try to run the query code, and I'm getting the employees. Okay. So I started with a pre-existing database, the Chinook sample database, SQLite database. I used the sqlacodegen that I did a pip install for. I ran that code. I think it probably has encoding car set options, but I didn't use them, and that was my problem. But then all I did was sort of Control A, Control C, copy all the code, paste it into a new Python file I made within my Visual Studio Code, and then it had the right encoding. I added a little bit at the beginning and the end of the code that they generated. I imported it in another Python file that then ran a query on the employees table using SQLAlchemy. That's what I wanted to show you in this one. Thanks for your attention.